Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, we could really use your help. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, recently named the Two Opinionated podcast one of its top 100 podcasts. This is a monumental feat for this program. We're a father and son team out of a small town in West Virginia, have been doing this for about 5 years. There's 15 million podcasts out there. About 40,000 of those get to the point that they're listed on IMDb. Out of those 40,000 out of the 15 million, we were ranked number 82. Something that we're just immensely proud of. We're so thankful for our listeners, our watchers, our fans. Thank you so, so much. If you would like to help us out, and we're asking for it, please. It's easy. It's really easy. It's free. If you go to IMDb, that's imdb.com, look up Two Opinionated Podcast, and just take a look at the page. That's all you have to do. I mean, you're welcome to look at the cast, look at the episodes so you can kind of see who's been on the program. Do whatever you want. But even just bringing up the page, imdb.com, Two Opinionated Podcast, bring up the page, look at it. That helps us so much. So please, if you can do anything, we would really appreciate that. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Love to have your subscription there. It's also free. And you can also check out our website, meistercon.com, where you'll find almost 700 episodes, audio and video, available on there. There's also a terrific blog from Brett, and it'll let you know anything that we have going on in studio, if we're covering a convention, if we're going on location, anything that we have going on will be on the website, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so, so much. We appreciate you so much. I can't express enough how appreciative we are of all of you. We never expected to do as well as we have, and that's all because of you. Thank you so much. Enjoy that interview. Bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got actress, director, writer Nicole Leier with me. So welcome, Nicole.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you. This is awesome.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this one too. You wear a lot of hats. Like there's not much that you haven't done on a set yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that it's just important to, you have to make your own work, but I also
Yeah.
feel like it's respectful to my crew members to kind of know what they're doing. And then when I ask for stuff on film sets, I know what I'm asking them to do, a little bit more understanding. It's always
That's right.
important.
That's right. Yeah, it all kind of ties together. And if you've got designs to work behind the camera, it definitely helps if kind of the processes in front of the camera. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
would say so. I would say so.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. So Nicole, let's start this way. So we got a lot to talk about, but tell me a little bit about what got you into the entertainment business.
Yeah, so my story is actually really kind of interesting.
Okay.
Um, I left home when I was really quite young. I always knew that I wanted to be in the industry, but I didn't really know what that meant. I come from a really small town in the interior of BC, British Columbia, Canada. Left home when I was about 16 years old.
That's pretty
Ended up
young.
very, very young. So lots to learn about life, lots to learn about people, and knew that I wanted to work in film, thought I was just going to be acting, and did get fairly lucky. That's the best thing that I can kind of put it all together, and was able to book a show when I was quite young and start working right away. Of course, there were some dark times. I don't talk a lot about that in between there, but eventually I did get on set, and the film industry really saved my life. And I think the moment that I realized I really wanted to be in film was when I was in high school. I was in this play, Oliver Twist.
Oh
And
yeah.
I remember we were doing the bows. And I remember after the bows, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And it was hard, it doesn't happen. So I booked a few gigs, and after that, then you don't work. Everyone thinks that as actors, you just continue working, you're making money and everything's easy, but
Yeah, it's not that easy.
it's not that easy. Sometimes, you don't work. And so I actually started working a lot as a stand-in. And that's where I learned a lot about my lenses, my camera, what happens behind the scenes. And I spent a couple of years doing that. And I was really lucky to just have that be my film school.
Yeah.
And then started doing a few short films here and there on my own, ones you will never ever see. And then just started really building work and learned at a young age in this industry, if you want to work, you have to create it yourself.
Yeah, I think that's fair because it's so difficult to break into the entertainment business
Mhm.
that if you want decent parts and things that you have a little say in, you almost have to do it yourself.
Yeah, you definitely have, you can't sit around and wait for it to come to you.
Right.
You have to create it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember some of your acting because you popped up on shows that I like to watch. So I know that you were on Dark Angel, which was one of my favorites. That was James Cameron. I mean, that was a great show. And then True Calling.
Oh my
Oh, yeah,
gosh.
I was a big Elijah Dushku fan, from Buffy. So when she went to True Calling, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going. I'm gonna watch
Oh
that.
my gosh,
Yeah.
that's like way back in the beginning for me. It's so funny. I was just having lunch with one of the friends, Nathan, who's a cinematographer who
Yeah.
worked on that show with me. Wow, you really did some research.
Well, yeah, it was easy because I knew when the interview request came through, I was like, oh, I've definitely seen her and some stuff. So I had to think about it a little bit. I was pretty sure I had Dark Angel, but yeah, once I looked and saw True Calling, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. But it seems like those shows just came out. It's been like 20 years.
No, we don't need to talk about age, okay? We don't
Yeah,
need to
tell
talk
me about
about
it.
this.
I'm in the I'm in the grandfather stage right now,
Oh,
right? So yeah, I've got five. It
five
and they
grandchildren.
all came at the same time, so they range between 1 and 4. They're all kind
So
of tightly bunched,
sweet.
but it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
What is the difference between like being a parent and then being a grandparent? Is it
So
just
much better.
so much because you can give them back when they
Yeah,
start
you don't
crying?
get the negative like you do as a parent. I mean, being a parent's terrific. You can't beat it, but grandparents pretty great because yeah, you get to spoil them and then send them home before anything negative happens.
Before all the stuff hits the fan.
I've got it like Fridays. That's my I'm a pawpaw. They call me pawpaw, but that's my day with them. So I've got all five of them tomorrow, all day. It's
Oh my
by the end
God.
of the day, I'm exhausted, but it's a fun day. It's a fun day.
That sounds so lovely. Big family.
Yeah.
Love.
Well, and I just wanted them, when I grew up, I spent most of my time, especially at that age, with my
Mhm.
cousins, just
Right.
family. And I wanted them to be close, that to have that kind of bond because I think it helps.
Mhm.
It helps when you come from a big family because then when you get around, a classroom or other kids or something, you're kind of used to it. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, big families. I never really had a big family. And family hasn't actually been like a huge part of my life, but I just think it's so beautiful when people have big, beautiful families. It's so special and it's incredible.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't see as much of it anymore.
we really don't. Like back in the day, it used to be like, I mean, back in the day, what am I even saying? But yeah, you don't, especially in LA, it's people have like one kid usually, one
What's
or
so
two.
expensive?
It yeah, there's that too.
Can't
I mean, I
afford
have a
anything.
dog. I'm a dog mom. So
Oh yeah, of course. My my
not the same
son
thing.
is a proud dog parent.
Oh,
He's got a couple of dogs that
uh,
he just absolutely adores. He says that a lot. He's like, I'm good being an uncle. I don't really
yeah,
need kids of my own. I got dogs.
love it. Yeah, my baby is my pride and joy. Kona, hey,
Oh, I like the name.
Kona, come here, baby. Come say hi. I'll show you. You guys can see.
Oh yeah. We
Kona,
got
yeah.
there's a snow cone truck that comes through in the summer that's named Kona. Oh,
This is my little
oh,
baby. Little baby. Yeah, she should always be. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, yes.
Good
So
looking
crazy
dog.
how. Anyways,
Not spoiled at all.
yeah. Not at all. Not at all. No, I love her very much. And she comes to set, she's a set dog. She loves being on set and everyone loves her.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. So she's not a barker. She's pretty well
Oh,
behaved.
she is. That's
Okay.
one thing. She does bark. So they have to have, like, she stays at the trailers when we're on set. Doesn't often come all the way to set because she does bark.
Yeah. Well, they all do.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
she's a little extra. I don't know
Well,
where she gets it.
I suspect.
Mhm, mhm.
So I
Mm.
saw one of the movies that we had watched probably I don't know, in the last year or so was For the Love of Chocolate, and you
Oh,
directed that one.
yeah, that was my second film that I directed.
Yeah.
And I used some of the same cast members. We had Jesse, who was amazing, and that was shot up in Vancouver. Yeah, I loved
There's
making
so
that one.
many things shot in Vancouver. I had no idea.
They call it like Hollywood North.
Yeah.
It's just they have great tax credits. The crews are absolutely amazing. And it was really fun to be able to go home and shoot that movie back home with all my friends and my family. I had a great cinematographer, Corey McGregor, that helped me
Mhm.
out on that one. And it was really interesting. After that film, they wanted me to do like 8 more pictures for that production company. But
Eight
I,
more.
yeah, they offered me like an 8 picture deal. And I was so grateful, like it's always lovely to work, but I just did want to continue doing rom-coms. I
Right.
love telling darker stories, more bigger feature films and stuff like that. So that was my last one, my last rom-com film, but it was great. I love chocolate, so got to
Well,
make.
yeah. And I get that. But that's a little, let's say, a little risky, giving up an 8 picture deal.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
out
It
there.
was
Well,
a little.
did you have some anxiety over that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an easy decision to make, especially as a new director. I had just done the movie before it, and then they brought me in to do that movie. I was working in New York on an independent at the time, and they flew me in. And at the end, they were like, "We really want you to do, 8 more." And I was just like, let me think about that. And the fact of the matter is, I said, "Thank you, no, thank you." And then I sat around for like a year and a half and did nothing. And so there was, it's not an
Yeah.
easy choice to make, but I think, someone shared with me the other day that our career in this industry is sometimes defined by the things that we say no to.
Right.
And
I love
um, I love that too. And it's the first time I've heard that. And that's something that, even though it was a hard decision, I do believe that I've made the right decision so that I was able to grow. And, after that year and a half, I was able to move in to my action film that I got to do with Vivica A. Fox and move up to doing action films, which is really more my genre, more what I want to do. I like the heavier, grittier stuff, especially
it.
with the way I grew up. I didn't I look really sweet like a Cabbage Patch doll, but I can throw down.
Well, yeah, and that happens when you're on
Mhm.
your own at 16. You
Yeah.
get tough.
Yeah, you need to learn how to navigate and survive. And I call it street smarts.
Yeah.
You really learn this intuition about who you can trust, who's real, and where you're safe. And I think it's good, like it's something that I use every day while I'm directing on set for sure. It's just an instinct that you have, which is important for directors to have gut instincts.
Well, and you followed your guts. That's why you passed on the movie deal. And I think, I get that decision. I've had similar situations in my life where I've made a decision and then the immediate aftermath is you're not working. And then
Mhm.
you start questioning, well, did I make the wrong choice? Is anybody ever going to give me work again? But obviously you made the right choice because you switched it to things that you're more interested in doing, things that are a little more you're more passionate about. So
Mhm.
good for you, but that's not an easy choice to make. Most of us would have taken the guaranteed money and then probably be stuck in something that we're maybe not 100% satisfied with.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because you really have to yeah, I guess it's, I just knew that I had more to give.
Yeah,
Like I love rom-coms. I think they're beautiful. I know that people love watching them and they have a beautiful place, and I have lots of friends that direct them and write them. Um, but for me, I feel like for my art and the films that I want to tell, I want to do the bigger budget feature films. And it was just time for me to take a sacrifice to, take one step back to take three steps
sure.
forward kind of situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So your newest, I think I've got this title right, Sworn Justice, Taken
Mhm.
Before Christmas. And
Yeah.
am I crazy, or does it? I mean, it's kind of got a little Die Hard vibe to it.
Yeah, it was like BET's Die Hard that they wanted to do. We call it like the Black Die Hard at BET. And what I really love about it is it has a female lead. We had Mishael Morgan out, who's the first Black female actress to win a daytime Emmy in Canada ever.
Yeah,
So
she's really talented.
she's very talented. I could not have made that movie without that woman. She is just absolutely professional. Her
Yeah,
energy is amazing. You can't meet somebody in this world that says one bad thing to say about Michelle. She is just absolutely incredible. And a good friend of mine now. We hang out a lot. She comes down to
oh, it's
visit.
good.
Yeah, she's lovely. And then we had Leland B. Martin, who's worked with Halle Berry, who's a good friend of mine. We actually acted together way back in the day on this little commercial. And when the casting came out, I was like, oh man, Leland would be perfect for this. So
Oh,
we were able to get him. Oh, and we had Preacher Lawrence, who is an amazing comedian.
yeah,
Um, he is
yeah.
another
He's
person.
funny.
Oh, and
Yeah,
you know what I love about Preacher is all his comedy is clean. Like he's like a clean comic where he just makes you like laugh so hard you feel like you're gonna pee your pants, but it's all clean comedy.
when
And
I was growing up, my father was always big on comedians, and he'd have the LPs or the albums of
yeah,
comedians, and they were all clean. There were
yeah,
none of them were, and they were hilarious. I used to just crack up at some of those growing up, and we kind of gotten away from that. There's not as many of those comedians left, but I always enjoy them when you run across them because they're funny, and they don't have to curse or to go into kind of risque territory, and they're still hilarious. And
and
yeah,
it's
he's
so
one of them. He's so
funny.
good.
And I just feel like they open it up for so many more people being able to enjoy their comedy, because they're not being crass and rude and
Right.
um, there's a place for that, but I really admire. I think it's a harder genre
It
of
is harder.
comedy to do because you really have to know your stuff to be able to make people laugh when you're not taking cheap shots. They're really smart, very, very smart. So working with him was awesome. And oh my gosh, he made me laugh so hard on set. Like him and Leland were
Yeah, that's not
hilarious.
terrible to have a little
Yeah.
comic relief on set. Because sets are stressful. So a little bit of something to break that's not bad.
Not bad at all. And then yeah, and then we had Vivica A. Fox out, which
How
was
did
really
you get
great.
her involved? I mean, because that's a big get. That's a huge name. Obviously, she's a
Yeah.
legend. But pretty nice to have her in more of a supporting role in the movie, but an
Yeah.
important role.
Yeah. Yeah, we were really shocked that we were able to get her. My producers busted their butts, and BET really wanted to have somebody like her as a part of the movie. And I think again, I just got really lucky. I always feel like with my projects, I'm always just putting as much energy out. And I feel like people really respond to good people and good projects, and they want to be a part of something that matters. It was, I think our budget range was like 1.2, so still pretty,
Still pretty low.
still very low.
Yeah.
Um, but I just always believe there's no harm in asking. And again, we got lucky and got her to come out, and those films mean a lot to me, like a lot of people would just shoot that budget level at it, like, oh, let's get it done, let's just pump it out. But for me, I really, when I rewrote the script and worked with them, it means something. And if you watch the movie, there's little moments of dialogue. Like one of Vivica's lines, she has the most important line in the movie where she says, as a Black woman, we always have to do the job as five white men. Um,
Yeah.
and so those little dialogue, like those little things are just so important. So I always try to make sure to, even though we're doing a really fun, die-hard action film, to put substance in my projects and always make them matter, you know,
Well,
because you
I
never know
think
who's
it does
watching.
make a difference because,
Yeah.
as fans, we want to become invested in the characters, and it's hard to do that if you don't give them a little bit of depth. If they're
Mm.
very surface level, it's hard to get attached to them. So you want them to have that little bit of depth. And I think with your movies, especially, you do a really good job with that and with the dialogue. I prefer a movie with really good dialogue over really good action. And this one's got both.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm like, keep it coming. Thank you so much. You're so kind. Yeah, dialogue is important to me. I think a dialogue in a film can make or break it. And I
Agree.
think that's something that comes from, me as an actor and then being a writer. It's so important because if you have cringe dialogue, no one wants to listen to
No,
that.
it's hard. It's hard to even get through it when the
Yeah,
dialogue's poor. I mean,
I agree.
you want characters to interact how you would interact in that situation, or at least
Yeah,
close to it. And if
yeah.
it's way off, it screws up what could be a really good movie.
Mhm. I totally agree. And it's huge. And it's not always easy, right? Like different people talk at different rhythms, different
Right.
people and words mean different stuff, but I really love dialogue. It's something that I love writing.
How strict are you on set with following a script? Do you allow actors to ad lib a little, or to change things just a little bit to better suit them, or are you like, this is the script and you got to stick to that? Because I know some directors are very very strict with that. Others are a little more lenient.
So it's really interesting. I go through different phases. So during the audition phase, I'm actually very strict.
Yeah.
So for instance, I'm starting a new movie, coming up, a thriller movie here in March that I'm going up to shoot. And there was a person, no names mentioned, that auditioned, but they went quite a bit off dialogue. And so I actually asked my casting director to have them retape, but just say the dialogue because their acting was lovely. But
Right.
it's dangerous for actors, right? Because if they're only able to get there by improving, you don't know what's really going to happen on set.
That's right.
Then the other side of that is working with somebody like Preacher Lawrence, who's an amazing comedian. I
Yeah.
am going to let him improv because I don't know what joke he's going to come up with, and that is his wheelhouse. I might get him to do it five different ways,
Right.
and I will always get him to do it exactly the way the script is written, but I'm not going to, that's what they do, and I'm
But
going to
yeah,
miss
he's very quick on his feet.
exactly.
So it doesn't,
Yeah.
his stuff, maybe every one of them doesn't land, but enough of them land that you can allow him that freedom.
Yeah. And I think the joke that he actually says, yeah, he talks about a couch, like giving birth to a couch.
Yeah.
And it was an improv line. That was not something that
Yeah.
was, what was it? I think that was an improv line. And so it really varies. I am pretty strict though, because of the timing that we have on set, and you do want to make sure the character arcs and everything are going together, and so much thought. When I write my scripts, it's not like I've just vomited anything onto the page. Like every word means something. So I'm pretty script particular when it comes to my actors
Yeah,
on
and I,
set.
I get that, especially if you're on kind of a tight budget, you may
Yeah,
not have the ability to allow people to do a lot of improv because it takes longer to film. When you do
that's
that,
exactly right.
you may not have the time or the resources to allow them to do that all the time.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It really comes down to making sure we get our schedules, and that we have the time. I'm sure that once I start working in like my bigger budget era, I will be very excited to,
Yeah.
loosen that up. I'm not going to be telling, Leonardo DiCaprio that he can't improv. We'll see what he does.
I
We'll
mean,
give
that's
him.
kind of the progression, right? Most directors start with a short film. You've done
Yeah.
that. and then you move to kind of a low budget type of thing, and then a little bit bigger budget. Once you get up into the millions, that's a pretty good budget, but not
Yeah.
real big.
Yeah.
The next step would be like, Blockbuster.
Yeah. For me, I'm hoping it's going to be at the end of this year. I'm looking at a film that I've written called Dublin Tales, and the budget for that is 5 to 10 million. So I'm hoping that,
Yeah,
that'll
see
be
that now
next.
that's a pretty good sized budget.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm very excited. It's actually,
What's Dublin Tales about?
yeah, Dublin Tales is based on a true story about my life. When I was on an arranged marriage on the black market, and I went
No
to Ireland
way.
to fund my first film when I was in my 20s. And it's very sweet because basically what happens is once I got to Ireland, the person who I was supposed to marry was in love and begged me for help to get out of this situation.
That
And
sounds like a movie.
it sounds like you have no idea. My life is crazy. And so I'm very excited. The script is done and we're talking to some producers. And basically it's like The Hangover meets Bridesmaids. So it's a very happy ending,
Oh,
kind of
okay.
a
So
dramedy.
did you go to Dublin with the
Mhm.
intention of getting married?
I did. I was trying to get money to fund one of my first short films. And through some very interesting, precarious situations, I found myself on this arranged marriage. And I was flown to Dublin to hopefully get married and help this person get their green card.
Yeah.
And then things changed.
Yeah.
And now we have a movie.
I would watch that movie. It sounds interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Please do. Please do. Probably
Are
out
you
next year.
filming it? Is it going to be a comedy or is it more of a drama?
It's a dramedy. I'd call it a
Okay.
dramedy, so like a little bit in between. And we'll film in Ireland, in Dublin, and then hopefully, well, it was based in Vancouver, but we'll see where that location. Sometimes they, will play Toronto
Oh,
as
yeah.
Vancouver. Hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah. You have to come back at that point. We got to talk
Oh,
about that one
sure.
when it comes out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. When I have my next one coming out, which is a thriller that'll be done this year. I can't say too much about that. But we're filming in Toronto and I fly out in like a week and a half to film that actually.
That's pretty exciting. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Do you when you direct, do you put yourself in there at all? Do you do cameos?
Yeah, I think I can say this. We might get in trouble, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
I won't
So
tell.
this next movie that I'm doing, I'm actually the executive producer, one
Yeah.
of them, the director, and I am actually acting in it as well, which is a dream of mine come true. I've always wanted to be, like that amazing, talented actress on The Handmaid's Tale, where she directs and produces and acts. That's really what I hope for my career, and I strive to continue to do that. So this will be the first time that I'm directing and acting, which I'm very excited about.
Is Nicole the director hard on Nicole the actor?
Absolutely. I almost uncast myself. So we were talking about it with the casting director, and she's like, well, what about you? Like even with Sworn Justice, BT had wanted me to actually direct and play the lead, but I
Yeah,
just it was too much and I wasn't a big
a
enough
lot.
name. Michelle is amazing. So we went with that. But she's like, I think you could do this part at the beginning. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, let's look at my height. Let's look, so yes, absolutely. It always has to come from story, right? Like when
Right.
you're casting and you're doing your shots,
Well, you
the
don't want
camera.
to put yourself in it if it's not going to work because it could
Yeah,
screw up your
if
whole
it's gonna
movie.
be cringe, then what's the
Yeah,
point? You
that's
want to
right.
tell good stories. Yeah.
Well, good
Yeah.
for you. That's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I am excited. Thank you.
That's a lot, though. You're
I mean,
you're going to need a
that's
break after that.
yeah, maybe. I mean, after that, I come back and I'm actually doing a play right after that here in LA. So I'll be
Right?
acting in that. But it's funny. I've always been more comfortable on a film set.
Yeah.
Like I shared, I left when I was young, and it's kind of my safety place. So I feel the opposite when I'm not working. I'm like, hey, what's next? What's going on? What do we got going on? So
I know
yeah.
you sound like similar to my wife, a very type A type of person.
Hmm.
Has to be doing something. That's when you're happiest is when you're busy. That type
Yeah.
stuff. That's exact opposite of me. I'm about as type B as you can get.
That's
I
nice.
tend to be very laid back and have to kind of push myself like with this podcast, it's an effort to get myself here. Once I'm here, it's fine. But
Right.
just because I'm not that type A person, so I have to kind of work around that. Whereas my wife is very type A. She has to pull back a little bit.
Right.
She just wears everybody out, because you just go, go, go. So I
Well, there's
kind of get that feeling that you're kind of like that. It's just if you're not doing something, you're looking for something to do.
Yeah, it's true, but there is something beautiful about being able to just relax and enjoy time. And
Yeah.
I think it's very important to be able to have that time just to reflect. It is important. But you are correct. I am very type A and I like to be doing stuff.
I know that for us, we tend to work pretty well together most of the time because
Hmm.
I force her to relax. She kind of pulls me out of my comfort zone. So we
Yeah.
do that works for us most of the time. Not all the time. Sometimes I drive her crazy because all I want to do is sit on the couch and watch a show.
Right.
And, she's wanting to do an art class or something with that. So we have to figure that stuff out. But yeah, neither way is necessarily bad. You just have to be aware of what you are and then make sure that you're not too much of it.
Yeah. And find a balance.
Find a
Balance is
balance. That's it.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So I used to run call centers. That's what I did before we started this podcast. And I was running a DirecTV call center, and a
Hmm.
show that they were putting on at the time was Rogue. So
Oh,
I know you did a waitress spot on Rogue, and I know it because they showed they would run that show nonstop at the call center. Like we'd probably have 50 TVs in a room, just playing,
mhm.
not the sound, but just playing in the background. They'd play their shows. And that was one I probably saw that episode you were on a dozen times.
Oh my gosh. That is so funny. That was just a tiny little part. Um, yeah, that's so funny. I forgot about that.
That's a
To
good
be
show.
honest.
We've had
Yeah.
some of the cast on. I think it was Thandie Newton was
Yes.
sorry. It was a good show with that, but that was DirecTV's first attempt at actually producing a show.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, that show is also filmed up in Vancouver.
Yeah. I know everything's, especially if it's action or sci-fi or Christmas.
Right.
Vancouver.
Vancouver. That's the place to do it. I mean, they've got everything up there.
Yeah, I know, and they can make it look like New York or anywhere you want. Basically, I didn't realize that so many movies that I thought were in New York were actually in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's so funny because now that I'm directing a lot more, when you look at them, you're like, oh yeah, I mean, it can double as this, as that. And now I'm a little bit like, there's something, we worked with my partner, we went out to New York to work for the CW. And we did Katie Keene out in New York. And I'm like, there's nothing that really doubles New York as New York. Like New York's got something that nowhere else has. So now that I'm in my, directing more, I'm like, I don't know. I think we need to shoot it in New York. New York's New York.
My I was a comic book collector growing up, and then I
Okay.
owned a couple of comic book stores through the '90s. That's how I put myself through college. So I was big into comic books. Well, my mother had her Katie King comics from when she was growing up with
Oh
that, and
my
because
gosh.
it was an Archie, it was an Archie comic, Katie
That's
King.
right.
So when that show came out, I was so excited because now I've got her old comic books, I've got those,
My
but I got to
God.
go and watch the show with mom when it first came out. We would get together and watch that, and just had the best times, kind of nostalgic, and it was neat seeing that up on the screen.
Yeah. I mean, that show, I didn't work on the show. My partner was the cinematographer, Mr. Brennan Ugama, and he created that show. He was actually supposed to direct an episode of Riverdale. He helped
Oh,
create
really?
Riverdale, and then the showrunner pulled him from Riverdale and sent him to New York to kind of oversee and be the cinematographer of that
Katie
show.
King.
But what happened with us is we moved from Los Angeles out to New York for about a year, and it became my year of just living in New York. And so that show it was such a blessing to me because, to be able to be in New York and live there and, you know, on the network's money was fabulous. It
Yeah,
really
that's not
was,
terrible.
Yeah, because we had a lovely place. We stayed in a production housing at 60th and First, just across the bridge was the studio. But New York is just the best.
It has to help, especially in the entertainment industry, when your partner, significant other, also
Mhm.
works in the industry, because you kind of get, the weird hours and the stress and all that, and you kind of support each other. So I would think that would be helpful.
Yeah, it's interesting because it can go both ways.
Sure.
I do think there's an understanding, like when you're on a project, nothing else, like my projects, when that's the only thing that matters,
Yeah.
and everything else is on the back burner. So there's an understanding, but then there's also huge sacrifices, like there's times that I won't see my partner for 6 months out of the
Right.
year. Or, right now he's out in
Puts a little
Chicago.
strain on a relationship.
But we went into it knowing that that was going to be part of it, and we're just so grateful. We love what we do, and this is what we both always wanted to do. So we're accepting of it, but there is sacrifices that have to be made for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Katie King comics were kind of neat because they would come with the paper dolls in them. So
Really? I've never seen them. I'm so
yeah,
interested.
each issue you could break out those little dolls and make, they came with like the base doll, figure, and then the dresses, and you could
Wow.
switch those on. Now, my mother, thank goodness, that's probably where I got my collecting from. She never tore the stuff out, so her stuff's still in there.
It's like
So
pristine.
they're in good shape. So she also had the original Barbie doll. Still has that. That's still at her house.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know, it's like in the box, has all the dresses. I'm like, Mom, you could
This
probably
is
sell
worth a
that.
lot of money.
You won't do it though. I'm sure it'll end up with one of my grandkids, probably
Yeah, for
some point.
sure.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
pretty
precious.
yeah, pretty great. Oh, before I forget, my
Yeah.
son Brett, who does the podcast with me, he's the brains behind the whole operation. He said that you played a teacher on Sabrina.
I did.
Yeah.
Actually,
He
it's
would know. I didn't. I watched a few episodes, but I didn't see the whole show. But that was a show that he liked and watched. Said you were a teacher on there.
you know what? It's so funny because you were just talking about how having like a partner in the industry.
Hmm.
So how I actually got that part is my husband was also the cinematographer for that episode.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
because it's the same showrunner. So Katie
yeah.
Keene, Riverdale, and Sabrina, they're all done.
Yeah. It's all Archie comics.
Yeah, and they're done with Berlanti Pictures, Sarah Sector, and Roberto. And so little hello. So through Brendan, they were able to find me and they asked me to play that part, which I thought was really special. It was really great. Just a really small little
Yeah, but that's
moment.
nice. I mean,
Mhm.
you're already there. You might as well do it.
Might as well. And I mean, that show was fabulous. It was a really great show. Um,
That was a good
that
show. Yeah, I
it
didn't
was
watch
a
the whole
really
thing
good
all the way through,
show.
but I enjoyed every episode I saw. It was well done.
Yeah, very successful, lovely,
Yep.
lovely show. Yeah.
They
So I
did
was,
a good job with the Archie shows, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so,
because they could come across very ridiculous if they
mhm.
didn't do them right. But I thought they did a good. I mean, the CW has that whole teenage angst thing that kind of runs through all their shows, but they do a
Yes.
good job with it, and it had some action, some drama, and so it was good.
I love how it is that teenage angst thing, but it's like everybody can relate to it. Like you and I can watch it and enjoy it. But it is, yeah, they definitely have got their genre
Well, they
unlocked.
do that with they got rid of most of their superhero shows, but all of those that ran through the last 10 years or so, they were very angsty as far as
Yeah.
the teenagers on the show. But you also got the comic book stuff and superheroes and all that. I thought they overall did a really good job with that.
And great writing. Again, like
Very good.
another
Yeah.
really good writing. It's like, oh man. Have you seen that new show, The Bear?
Love the bear. The
Oh,
bear is
that
so stressful to
writing.
watch, though.
That writing is some of the
Unbelievable.
best writing that I have ever seen in my entire life in this industry. And you can tell it's just so much heart and soul Like
Don't you
that's
feel
the
like
show
you're
that
just watching, like you're watching a group actually try to open a restaurant? It doesn't
yeah,
seem like they're acting. It just seems like you're kind of looking in on a group that's trying to open up a restaurant. It's
yeah.
so well done.
Just so much talent, so
Yeah.
much talent.
Yeah. The problem with that show is you can't binge it because it just wears you, like each episode just is just exhausting.
It's so funny because
So,
I binged it.
yeah. See, I'm so jealous of that because we had to
I
like,
binged it into, I couldn't stop.
yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't.
We could do an episode or two at a time, but then have to take a break, kind of
Yeah, because there's
recharge
so
and then get back.
much.
But we still finished it within a couple of weeks. We still got through it pretty quick.
I finished it. I was off on a Friday and someone was like, you got to check it out, Nicole. Like, you got to check it out before the award started. So I watched one episode and then I didn't come up for air until like Sunday afternoon. And I had watched the whole.
I know, and part of the reason I think it's so good is the secondary characters are so
Yeah,
well done. The dialogue's good, they're believable. That's a great show.
it's a fabulous show. So fabulous.
That's pretty. Have you thought about just like working on a TV show instead of a movie? Is that
Yeah,
something
I
you
think
might do at some point?
I actually have a TV show that I've written a pilot for that's
Okay.
one of my producers right now. It's called Fat, Pretty Hot and Tempting.
I like.
But we'll see. I think, we'll see what if anybody buys it. I think they're going to take it to some of the film markets and just see. But I'm definitely more of like a big feature film. I like the structure of the feature film. I feel like it's a director medium for me, but TV is amazing. And, there are shows that, I would just they have two directors for The Bear, but directing something like The Bear or creating something like The Bear, I definitely strive to one day be a showrunner of a show like that. Or you
Yeah,
know
I
what?
think you could totally do that. I think you're experienced enough. I don't think that'd be an issue if you wanted to go that route.
Oh, I appreciate that. I was gonna say, what other show I love so much is The Offer. Have you seen The Offer? The producer was Nikki Toscano.
Yeah, I have seen that. Let me
Oh,
think.
so
Is
good. It's the
which one?
remake of um basically the making of The Sopranos, but from the producer side, like
Yes, yes. I was trying to think what that was. Yeah. So
that show.
yeah. I got pretty close with some of that cast, and so we had been talking about they were going to be on there, months ahead of when it actually aired. But then when it came, I think it was on Paramount who brought that out. Really good, and yeah, if you're a Sopranos lover, you kind of need to watch this because you get all the behind the scenes stuff.
That show, like that, a show like that, I would love to make something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be really good. It's I liked it because it was a little bit different. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're watching basically a drama
Yeah.
about the making of, but it was a little different. Just that angle. And because you already had the established show, so now you're kind of seeing. I mean, it's acted, but you're basically seeing the story behind the story.
Yeah, and you're getting to learn like what the producers went through, all of the
Yeah, I
backstory.
loved it. I love the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite shows ever. And I love that limited series, like the number of episodes yeah. Anyways, love it, love it, love it.
I know.
Yes.
I know. We've
Yes. Definitely want to do TV like that.
well, we've moved on from the days of, 22, 26 episode seasons. Now at most we get 13.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's like 8.
Yeah. That's right.
So I mean, for me, I don't really mind it. Like on a show that you really love, sometimes you're like, I wish there was more episodes. But they've eliminated, like when I was growing up, network TV really bad about the filler episodes because they're
Yeah.
trying to meet a quota of episodes. So you'd have that handful of episodes that had nothing to do with the story. It
Yes.
only gave you maybe some background on the character, but it just didn't fit. I never
Yeah.
really cared for those. So
Yeah.
now
The
we don't
bridge
really have
episodes
that.
are always like, what?
That's it. And now, we're
Right.
getting like Disney's putting out most of their shows are like 6 episodes. This Echo was 5.
Yeah. And they're just bringing the fire. Like that's what I love about because they don't have or they don't allow the time with those shorter episodes, shorter series.
You don't have time to
Every
mess around.
episode.
You got to
Mhm.
get into it.
Yeah, it's good.
I just finished Kim's Convenience.
Oh, so good.
Oh my gosh, that show is amazing.
They're so good. Like
I
so
love that show.
Toronto, filmed in Toronto.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of for me kind of similar to Schitt's Creek in that
Yeah.
it took me a couple of episodes to get used to the characters.
Mhm.
But once I did, like when Schitt's Creek came out, I tried it. I tried one episode and I was like, these characters are terrible. Can't stand it. I stopped watching it. Well, then everybody was like, Schitt's Creek, that's the best thing ever. I was like, all right, I'm going to try it again. So I did the same thing. I watched the first episode and I was like, these characters are terrible. But by the end of the second episode, I was like, I love these characters so much.
Oh, that's so I love how you give stuff like a second chance. A lot of people
Yep.
don't do that. A
And
lot
it
of
was
people feel left out.
Kim's Convenience is kind of like that because it's about a Korean family, you
Yeah.
know, so something maybe I'm not as familiar with. So it
Yeah.
took me an episode or two to kind of get the dynamic and, kind of understand what was going on. But once I did, I love those characters. It's so well
Oh,
written.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's like music to my ears. That's so lovely that you give the shows a second chance. It's
Well, you
very
have to,
good.
because, a lot of
I
times,
don't always. Like if I
yeah.
don't like something, I'm like,
Well, yeah, I know, because you don't have the time. So you try it. If it doesn't spark something within a few minutes, a lot of times we move on. But I
yeah.
try, like if I keep hearing something's good and I didn't
Yeah.
get through it, I'm like, I got to go back. Got to try
Yeah.
again.
You
Got to try
mentioned.
again. Well, Nicole, thank you so much. This has been terrific. I'm so excited we got a chance to have you on. I think, you've been doing this for a while, but I think we're kind of just scratching the surface. So I know that big budget movie's coming and we're going to see you on it at some point. So I'm thrilled to death to have you on the show now. So when you come back later, I can be like, I told you.
You are such a sweetheart. Like, thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
It's been awesome chatting with you, and I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. It's expected now. People, our limited viewership, which isn't that limited, it's pretty.
Yeah,
They're expecting it. They're like, they said she was coming back, so she got.
All right, let's make it happen.
They need to go watch Sworn Justice first.
Yes.
I mean, the question is, would you call Sworn Justice a Christmas movie? That's the debate with Die Hard.
Yeah, I mean, Die Hard's
got Christmas
definitely
in
a
the
Christmas
title.
movie. Die Hard's definitely a Christmas
I
movie.
agree.
And so I don't know. Is it a Christmas? I mean, it takes place at Christmas.
I was going to say it's got Christmas in the title. Is that enough?
Yeah, I guess it's a Christmas movie.
We tend to kind of like if you think Die Hard's a Christmas movie, is Gremlins a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, right? I mean, I watch it. I
Christmas.
only ever watch Gremlins at Christmas time. So
Yeah. Other than, I don't remember when it originally came out. I know I saw it at the theater back in the 80s.
yeah.
But I don't know if that was Christmas time or not when it first came out. So I'm guessing it probably was.
Yeah. Let's go with yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a Christmas movie.
I mean, back then it was, you either had the summer movies or the holiday movies. The rest of the time, if a movie came out then, probably wasn't worth going to see.
Yeah, it's true.
It's changed a little. Now there's good stuff coming out all the time. But back then, if you had a movie that was out, say, late January, it was probably because it wasn't good enough to be out at the holidays.
Yeah, they wouldn't make it. They definitely,
Yeah.
those time slots were for the special big ones, which is true.
Yeah. So, okay. So a couple things, Nicole, before we wrap up.
Yeah.
You've told us a little bit that you've got going on, but anything else you're working on that we can kind of keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just this thriller film that I've got coming up that I can't say too much about, but we'll be releasing some press for that really soon. And then at the end of the year, I have Dublin Tales. We'll have more information on that. And then
you got to keep me posted on that one. I definitely want to see it.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, you know what else you should check out, which you might love, is the film that I did with Nick Cage. Did you see that one?
I meant to ask you about that.
Yeah.
What's the name of that one?
That was called A Score to Settle.
Score to Settle.
Yeah, check that out. I think you'll really appreciate the character that I play in
I'm
that because
so
it's
glad that he's kind
completely
of
different.
come back.
He is amazing.
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage
he's
is
such a character.
he's so down to earth. He
Yeah.
was so I learned so much working with him. He was really supportive and really encouraging. And I'll just never forget. He's like, "Nice work, kid." Like at the end of our scene, I was like,
See, people forget, but he was a monster at the box office, through the
he's
80s
huge.
and
He's an
90s.
Academy Award winning
Yes,
actor.
I mean, he's just amazing. And then
Incredible.
he kind of disappeared. He was still doing the lower budget stuff, and now he's back. He's doing some stuff now.
And have you seen Pig? He's amazing
I
in
have seen
Pig.
Pig.
I love it so
Really
much.
good. Yeah.
Anyways, I could talk to you forever. You're so lovely.
I know, well, that's why we have to do a part two.
I'm down. Let us know. Let us know.
Okay, so last thing before you go, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, I think the best way is just on my Instagram.
Yeah.
It's Nicole G. Lear. On my Instagram is the best place to find me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the G in there.
It's
It's
my
very
middle name, my
sophisticated.
grandmother's name, Geraldine. It
Oh, I
stands
like
for,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
it classes it up a little bit.
Oh, really? Thanks.
No, I like the name Geraldine. I think that's a pretty name.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. That's pretty good. What did your grandmother go by? Did she go by Geraldine, or did she have like a nickname she went by?
Yeah, her first name was Edith. So I'm
Oh,
very grateful for the Geraldine part because I
yeah, I'm
think
not a big fan of
I'm more of a
Edith.
Geraldine, I think, than an Edith.
I had an Aunt Edith. She was lovely, but not a big fan of that name.
Yeah,
Geraldine's
it's
better.
so like Edith. I don't
I
know.
know it kind of like smacks you in the mouth when you say it.
Yeah, it's a little scary. It's a little like doesn't taste like grandma's homemade pie, you know? You're kind of like, what's going on here,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. You don't want to mess with Edith.
Yeah, you should. Oh no.
Yeah,
Heck no.
you don't want to mess with that. Well, thank you, Nicole, and definitely let's do this again. Let's plan it. My son Brett will do the editing once he gets it ready. I'll send over all the links.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so fun talking to you. You're
I know
awesome.
it's been great. Okay, hold on one second. Nicole Leier, so talented. Do yourself a favor. Look up, it's on BET. Sworn Justice, Taken Before Christmas. It's a die-hard type of movie. It's got, some twists. Really strong cast, good dialogue, great director. So please check that out. Support Nicole and keep an eye out for those other movies that she has coming out later in the year. For the Love of Chocolate's still out there. If you're looking for a good rom-com, it's really good. I think you'll like that. So keep an eye out for that as well. If you're finding us for the first time, thank you. So happy that you're here, and we definitely don't take that for granted. We've been blessed on this podcast. When we started the podcast, our intention was just to spend time together as a father and son. We weren't expecting it to do anything. We just wanted to talk about things we like to talk about. And then it took off, and we've grown to the point that we're able to have these terrific guests on. So happy for that. I put our guest list up against any other show, talk show, podcast, whatever it is. I'm so thankful for the guests we've had on the show. And you can find all of our episodes. I think today we put out episode 731. We've been doing this now for 5 years. So we're pretty prolific. We tend to average about 4 episodes a week. You can find all of those, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out there. If we're doing something in studio, if we're going on location, covering a convention, anything we have going on, be on the website, meistercon.com. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. I would ask that you please subscribe if you go there. It's free. Those subscription numbers really help us out. So please subscribe, MeisterCon Pod on YouTube. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, recently named us a top 100 podcast. There's 15 million or so podcasts to choose from. To be listed on anybody's top 100 list is a really big deal, especially for a father and son operation in a small town in West Virginia. It's unbelievable that we're at this point. Thank you guys for your support. Really do appreciate it. IMDb.com. If you look up the Two Opinionated podcast, comes right up. It's free, and just that traffic on our page helps us out. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm once again here to ask for your support. It's been a big year for the Two Opinionated podcast. Back in February, we got to live out a dream, moderate for William Shatner here in our hometown. In May, we passed 100,000 downloads on our YouTube channel, and we followed that up in June with 50,000 downloads on the audio side. We recently posted our 600th episode, which is pretty good volume for just a father and son operation. Not too many podcasts can keep that volume up. We've been doing this now for 4.5 years, 600 plus episodes. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is a really big deal for us because we've always gotten the views, but have struggled to get people to subscribe. So that 1,000 was a big deal for us. And best of all, we were recently named one of the top podcasts on IMDb, which is the entertainment database. Those that are ahead of us, we came in at number 82. Those that are ahead of us are bigger companies like Disney, mostly Marvel, and Joe Rogan, that type of podcast. So for us, being just a small West Virginia father and son podcast, to be in the top 100 out of 15 million, it's a pretty big deal for us. So thank you for everything you've done for us so far. Got a couple little ways, though, that you can help us, and they're free, and they're really easy. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, please go to YouTube. It's under MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Really helps us a ton. And maybe even more important, if you could go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and just look around the page. Just having that traffic on the page really helps us out. So that's a couple easy ways that you can support us, even if you're not listening or watching all of the time. And we want you to listen and watch, because I think that our guest list, I would put up against anybody, any other show, podcast, anybody out there. I think our guest list holds up. So please check us out. You probably will find somebody that you like, or maybe somebody that you didn't know you liked, but kind of discovered them on there. There's tons of that. If you're into music, we have that too. If you like books, we've got authors on there. If you're more into what goes on behind the scenes in the entertainment world, we've got producers, directors, video artists, anything you can think of that happens behind the scenes, we've had them on the show. So definitely check us out. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.